Hi, I'm Max Keiser. This is the Keiser Report. Yeah, we're still in Paris. It's so beautiful here, and the croissants are so chewy, and the coffee's so delicious. Let's check in with Stacy.
Max, we are in France, where their flag is red, white, and blue, and so is this episode airing on the 3rd and 4th of July, so I'm wearing red, white, and blue top, and I have articles relating to the Big Four, the Big Four accounting firms. I have to clarify that because there are also Big Four banks, there are Big Four, conglomerates running every single industry across the earth, whether it's telecoms, chips, or things like that. KPMG's audit work unacceptable, says Watchdog. KPMG audits has shown an unacceptable deterioration and will be subject to closer supervision, the Financial Reporting Council said. Every year, this watchdog reviews the work of the Big Four accounting firms. The other Big Four outside of KPMG are PwC, Ernst & Young, and Deloitte. And they said, in particular, all of the Big Four were bad, but in particular KPMG, who, of course, were the auditors for Carillion, that outsourcing company that collapsed 3 months after KPMG had said their books showed that they were in perfect health, at least for the next 3 years.
There's a lie in that statement. They say they will be subject to closer scrutiny, which is false, I can tell you, because they say this every year or so. They say the exact same phrase over and over again. They say, oh, we caught this Big Four accounting firm committing fraud, so we're going to apply some closer scrutiny. And they just to cover their own that's what they have to say to cover their legally. They say, well, we said that we were going to apply closer scrutiny. But then they never do, because they're part of the racket. This is racketeering. What the accounting firms, the banks, the rating agencies, the government, and the central bank. It's called a racket. The UK profits from it handsomely. That's how the aristocracy keeps going, and it's not going to stop.
Well, actually, we'll go a little bit into that in an upcoming headline, but first I want to stay on this story and move to the next one about KPMG. KPMG said it was, quote, disappointed and was taking steps to improve audit quality. They were very disappointed in their repeated bad auditing quality. But the next headline, and this comes from Market Watch and our friend Francine McKenna, who is a regular on Keiser Report, KPMG won BBVA audit with stolen data about rivals' inspections. An auditor was able to use access to confidential regulatory inspection data to get advanced knowledge of his own inspections and also poach a client. The revelation came in court documents supporting the U.S. government's case against former KPMG partners, shows the confidential information was also used against the auditor's rivals. So this is a complaint against 4 former KPMG partners in Spain and a former public company accounting oversight board employee in Spain. The story dates back to 2016 when a Spanish bank, BBVA, was forced to solicit bids from other audit firms and switch from an audit relationship with Deloitte's Spanish firm due to a European Union mandatory audit rotation rules. Confidential information around these bids gave KPMG a secret advantage over rivals PwC and Ernst & Young, who were also eligible to bid on the audit. They had an insider, a guy who had joined KPMG from the regulator, the Spanish regulator. So he had these documents to show KPMG to give them an advantage over their rivals.
So the reason you even have a KPMG or any of these Big Four accounting firms is because the tax laws are so convoluted that you have to hire outsiders to come and interpret for you what the government has just written. And the government has just written these laws as per the consultations from these Big Four accounting firms to keep it as labyrinth and Byzantine and complicated as possible as a way to thwart competition. They don't want any of these big firms, they don't want any competition coming along and without having to pay the extortion, that is the fee, to a Big Four accounting firm who works hand in glove with the government to prevent competition. So when you hear stories like RBS has a unit and they go and destroy thousands of British corporations to steal the assets and sell them off to another third party, they work with auditing firms. Those books were all audited by big auditing firms. They didn't make those numbers up themselves. They hired outside auditors from the Big Four auditing firms.
So we're going to go into what the Big Four have done to the United Kingdom, and this is about that first story. The KPMG was found to have acted unacceptably in terms of their audits in the past year, in particular related to Carillion. Now, here is Wolf Street's take on it. Big Four audit oligarchy comes under scrutiny in the UK after corporate surprise collapses. In fact, an MP in the United Kingdom called them an oligarchy, which, If it were any other country, especially ones that are not our allies, we would say that's an oligarchy to have 4 companies controlling, or 3 companies, or 2 companies. So many industries across our world are controlled by just a few groups of powerful companies. But here they're saying, Wall Street quotes a Guardian article where they're looking at these big 4 accounting firms. And what they find is that in Britain, the big 4's consultants counsel ministers and officials on everything from healthcare to nuclear power. Although their advice is always labeled independent, it invariably suits a raft of corporate clients with direct interests in it. And unsurprisingly, most of the consultants' prescriptions, such as marketization of public services, entail yet more demand for their services in years ahead. So they are being placed inside Parliament, inside Congress, inside parliaments across the European Union, in the US, and they consult independently. We're just giving independent advice to your representatives. We're just helping everybody here. We're helping out. Well, in fact, their advice always, they never say, actually, we should do something that spreads wealth more equitably, or we should do something that allows people to earn their fair share of the pie that they've created, that they've baked, essentially, that is our economy. No, it's always like, well, let's devise a system where, say, the healthcare system they mentioned in the United Kingdom, where we bring in